got a story out of South Carolina that at first telling looks routine. Agents from the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division announced yesterday they'd be charging a man named Sean Grubert with, quote, felony aggravated assault, carrying a maximum of 20 years in prison. And it's for an incident in which Grubert shot another man named LeVar Jones several times at close range in a gas station parking lot on September 4th. Prosecutors say for no reason. But what makes this story so newsworthy is that the person who did the shooting was a state trooper, and the person he shot appeared to be reaching for his license after said state trooper asked the man to get his license. Or as the arrest warrant reads, the defendant, a South Carolina state trooper at the time of the incident, did without justification unlawfully shoot LeVar Jones. And all of it was recorded on what may possibly be the most horrifying dash cam video I've ever seen.
All right, now watch this video, folks.
The entire thing. It begins with now former state trooper Sean Grubert. He was fired last week, preparing to pull out of the gas station. Before he turns his patrol car back around, that's what you're seeing there. And the tape then shows LeVar Jones getting out of an SUV. Watch and listen carefully as Grubert asks Jones for his license. Jones appears to instinctively tap his back pocket, then reaches into the truck. Grubert yells for him to get out of the car and fires 2 shots as Jones raises his hands.
This is a travesty, folks.
Grubert fires twice more. Watch.
Can I see your license, please? Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
Totally inappropriate, folks. Just started shooting the guy as he went to get his license.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
Now he's forcing the guy to put his hands behind the back as he's laying there shot.
Are you hit?
I think so. I can't feel my leg. I don't know what happened. I just grabbed my leg.
Brakes on 866. I need 1052.
Why did you shoot me?
Well, you dove head first back into your car.
I'm sorry.
Then you jump back out. I'm telling you, get out of your car.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear 2 words, sir.
Hold on a sec.
My license is right here in the ground. I didn't hear.
Brakes on 866. Shots fired on 1038. I need 1052 out here. Broad River at the Shell station near St. Andrews. Do you seatbelt violation, sir?
I just pulled it off right there at the corner to pull in the gas station.
All right, did you folks, I don't know if you folks heard that. He said he pulled him over for a seat belt violation. The guy's like, I just took it off as I pulled in. Are you kidding me? Hey, this is the Francesco Abbruzzino Show. This is Frankie Abbruzzino, your humble host for the next hour. This is a travesty, and we're going to talk a little bit more about police brutality and some of the concerns I have out there, like this gun-toting guy. Where does he think he is? He just pulls up behind the guy. The guy tells the guy to go get his license. He goes to get his license out of the car, and the cop just starts shooting him. And it wasn't just once. It was like 3 or 4 shots. Then he handcuffs the guy on the ground. The guy's like, what'd I do? I just pulled in a gas station. What'd I do? This militarization of our police force has to end, folks. When will it end? When will the tyranny end? Ever since this drug war started, let's bring in more cops. Let's militarize them. These guys think they're out there fighting in Iraq. I think even the Iraqi soldiers, the American soldiers in Iraq, had more restraint than this cop does. And it's a travesty, and they ought to do something, and it's a rarity to see them do something, and I hope they do take action against this guy. All right, like I said, this is Frankie, and we're here for the next hour. We're going to talk about a variety of issues out there, ranging from liberalism to finance to ISIS. How could we go without talking about ISIS, right? And then we're going to talk about Ebola and see what else we can squeeze in within the next hour. So hopefully it'll be a fun-packed hour. I did have to take some time off. You probably noticed that, but I'm back. One thing I want to try to do is incorporate more videos into it. I like the videos and where we can go in and analyze it and talk about it. Usually if I'm live, we'll have the phone lines open. You can call in and talk in. I've had some issues with the phone line, so we haven't done that as of late. But the next thing I wanted to discuss is liberalism. Liberalism in America. Okay, and I want to just examine it. And basically, the left is intellectually dead. That's what my focus is going to be on. The left is dead. And we're heading towards authoritarianism. I can't even say the word. That's how disturbed I am about it. But we need to find out, where's liberal going? Where's liberalism going? You know, Obama has brought a whole new meaning to it. A disturbing meaning. There's a fundamental assumption out there on the left, and it's an innate goodness of each person. It means that they are seeking to undermine our Constitution. And our Constitution, which is based on very different views of human nature, folks. The Constitution, it pits the different branches of government against each other so that each will keep the other in check. And that's the beauty of it. That's why it's worked so masterfully. You know, as James Madison put it, he did in his Federalist Papers, he stated, ambition must be made to counteract ambition. And the Constitution supplies the defect of better motives through such balancing, folks. The Constitution expects selfish ambition. And by expecting this selfish ambition, it legitimizes, which is precisely what the left does not want to do. The left wants to supply not the defect of better motives, but rather the better motives all alone. These liberals, the liberals, they want to set up a system that allows the latent goodness to flourish. And the checks of the constitutional system can be just discarded, thrown in the trash. Just ditch them in favor of a technocratic, centralized disinterestedness that allows each individual to live an authentic life of his choosing, his or her choosing, I should say. As a result of this pacified citizenry, this dumbed down citizenry, the citizenry is a loss of the vigilant and manly spirit necessary for self-government. It's gone. We're losing it. The left would degrade the personal character needed for a constitutional republic. And in order to achieve the goal of a soft, liberated citizenry, the left will have to dominate and control more of society, which is where the big government comes in. Control society. At some point, we're going to have to really face it we're going to have to face a very difficult way that we are dealing with things. With this really naked, aggressive, authoritarian movement. And recent events testify to this tendency, folks. Climate change activists and part of the most famous political family in America argued recently that conservatives who disagree with the climate change alarmists we should lock them up. We should throw them in jail and let's ditch the key. Because the conservatives are not agreeing with this whole climate change. It's a scheme. Because I'm not seeing that it's really happening. Senate Democrats, they just voted to repeal the First Amendment protections of free speech. You had several proposed graduation speakers. They were forced to withdraw from speaking because of protests from students who disagreed with some of the speakers' past work. Why? These events and the ideology undergirdling them are a far cry from the democratic constitutional republic, which was envisioned in the Declaration of Independence and within our Constitution, folks. Think about it. This whole progressive agenda is diametrically opposed to the American political project, as it wants to dismantle our Constitution, the constitutional order, and the personal morals necessary for self-government, and to replace them with much more authoritarian system, much more government, bigger authoritarian. They're doing that with so many entitlements. The liberal way. You know, perhaps this insight, gives a partial answer to why the left exists now and where they seem to be heading. A free society will always have winners and losers. As people are endowed with different gifts, you're going to see winners and losers. Thus, there's going to be a certain inequality, and it's bound to occur in our free society. That's what it's all about, isn't it? And this inequality stands in tension with the founding creeds of America, that all men are indeed created equal. One way to understand the political left in America is the champion of equality, while the right is the champion of liberty. Absolute equality and absolute liberty will always stand somewhat in tension with each other. And the genius of the American system was to balance these two goods in a stable political order. But the progressive vision for society pushes this equality to the extreme. All people and their choices are equal and should be treated as such. You know, look, the fact of inequality persists. It's going to persist, folks. And with it, the desire of some of us to be protected from the danger of an unequal outcome that is favorable to them. Over the past decade, the left has pushed the narrative that they are for the little guy. They're for the little man out there, the guy that doesn't have anything. And they enact these policies, these entitlement programs, to give them some kind of increased economic security. And they buy into it. The people buy into it. So isn't it quite right that the left is entirely driven by the aim of creating content, pacified citizenry? And they do this through a centralized technocratic bureaucracy. Many who support the left simply want protection and more equality, and the left most vocally offers that, folks. The left appeals to people's desire for security. I got the government there to take care of me. That's why people keep voting for liberal politicians. That security that comes in the form of entitlements. It doesn't matter that their policies may not work. The ultimate vision of the liberal elite may be too invidious to the average American out there. But liberalism as a movement will persist because its appeal to equality and security. This understanding of the left suggests an answer to the question facing us today. Just exactly where's liberalism going? What's it doing to America? I'm here to tell you, folks, it's going nowhere. Liberalism is indeed going nowhere. We'll be right back.
Is your money manager giving you safety and security? Wouldn't you like to make your money work harder for you? Then you should consider joining philsgang.com, where thousands of individual investors have successfully profited.
This year I'm up 60% on my portfolio. Following your system has been fantastic. I've been with you for about a month and a half now, and I'm already up 7%.
I've been in the business for a long time, and you're really one of the best I've ever heard.
Well, I just want to let you know what a great teacher you are.
For over a decade, philsgang.com's Phil Grandy and Donald Cogswell have been teaching, coaching, and investing right along with all Phil's Gang members.
I want to thank Donnie for market rep. I bought 2,500 shares of AUI and sold it this morning at $820 profit.
Why not join thousands of satisfied Phil's Gang customers today? Go to philsgang.com, philsgang.com, or call 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264. Call today.
All right, philsgang.com. They're a big sponsor of mine, especially for my weekend radio show, so check them out by all means. Hopefully you were able to catch this last Saturday's show. If you're in Sarasota County, it's a must listen, must watch if you're on my channel, just to see what's going out there, what's happening within our area, our society, right here in Sarasota County. With Phil Grandy, they are on. You can get them too on my channel. Just go to the Uncensored Report, which you're probably on now if you're watching this, uncensoredreport.com, and go to the Phil Grandy show. I think when you hit the tab, it tells the time. Show times are on at 9 and 3. He is live, and he speaks the truth. He talks about the social issues, and he talks about financial charts and the beauty of them and how you can utilize them to make money in this unstable market. So check out Phil Grandy by all means. Next, this is a lady that this lady actually got me doing my my rogue rants, And I haven't done a rogue rant in a while, and I need to. I need to get back to doing it. Just don't have a lot of time. Her name's Laura. She's called The Resident, and she's primarily on RT.com. But she's going to come in. She's got a rant that I'm going to have queued up here in a second. And she's basically going to talk about the craziness of the death panels, and she's going to bring in Paul in. Then after we watch it, we're going to discuss a little bit about this guy. What is it? The mayor of Chicago's brother, Emmanuel. He came out saying why he wants to die at 75. And what they're doing is they're promoting these death beds, which we all knew were coming, folks. This is the architect of Obamacare, by the way. So let's go ahead and give a listen to the resident, see what she has to say, and we'll be right back.
Ezekiel Emanuel was one of the architects of the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. He presumes to be interested in preserving life, which is why it seemed outrageous when Sarah Palin accused him of wanting to create death panels. That was him. He was the death panel guy. But it turns out, Palin might have been more right about Ezekiel's intentions than the country gave her credit for. Because Dr. Emanuel just penned an article in The Atlantic entitled, "Why I Hope to Die at 75, with the subtitle, "An Argument That Society and Families and You Will Be Better Off If Nature Takes Its Course Swiftly and Promptly." In it, Emanuel clearly outlines why he thinks everyone should have the decency to die before turning 76. He accuses Americans of being obsessed with trying to cheat death. He chastises people for exercising, for doing mental puzzles, for sticking to healthful diets, for taking supplements, as if those actions are actually evil. He says all of those death-cheating behaviors are part of a manic cultural type that he calls the American immortal, which he vehemently rejects as misguided and destructive. Destructive as in, if you spend medical and financial resources trying to extend the life of a 76-year-old, you're being destructive to society. Sounds pretty death panelish there. Emanuel writes of healthcare as if it's gone too far, pointing out that half of people 80 and older live with one functional limitation or another, writing that American immortals operate on the assumption that they'll somehow be impervious to the ailments of old age. And he actually makes some really great points that would seem humorous and rational if it weren't for the fact that he's deadly serious about Americans being unpatriotic financial burdens by trying to live past 75. Or if he weren't the guy that was at the center of the death panel controversy. Here was Sarah Palin saying that Emanuel espoused the idea of not trying to extend the life of old people, and the liberal media made it seem like the whole thing was just another crazy Palinism. And now here's the same guy, 5 years later, writing an article in The Atlantic that espouses the crazy ideas Palin accused him of. Instead of having a rational discussion about the aging process and quality of life past 75, our politicians turned the whole thing into a media circus. So for that, I'd agree in part with Emanuel's position, amending it to say that no politician should be allowed to live past the age of 75. Tonight, let's talk about...
I love it. No politician should live past the age of 75. Applaud the president. That was a good little rant there. Look, this guy's crazy. And again, this is the architect of Obamacare. It's something they've known about forever, folks, that deathbeds were what the direction they were going in. And their philosophy is, why do we want to spend money, time, doctor hours, resources, essentially, trying to help someone that's 75 when we can do it on a 25-year-old? All right, it's all part of this depopulation theory out there. But I can tell you this, there's many 75-year-olds out there, 80 and 90-year-olds, that are a hell of a lot more productive than some 25-year-olds I know. They are productive members of society, and we shouldn't just write them off because we don't want to put the money out through this government-subsidized Obamacare. We saw it coming. We knew it was coming. Obama knew it was in there. The liberals knew it was in there. The Republicans knew it was in there. Yet nobody took action to stop it, folks. Deathbeds, Obamacare, that's what it's brought to us. And this Emmanuel. I guarantee you Emmanuel doesn't want to die when he's 75 like he's reporting. I guarantee you. You could take that to the bookstore and sell it all you want. Well, I'll be right back. 1-800-PET-MEDS. Yes, get your pet essentials, your medicines, your collars, everything you need online. And guess what? Be supporting the operations of this great station, the Uncensored Report. So go to my website, click on the icon for 1-800-PET-MEDS, and help us continue the information war that's going on out there. Hey everybody, have you thought about fluoride, how it's dumbing us down? Why don't you give Fluoride Shield a try? Or how about Survival Shield to help you get the iodine that's been taken out of our salts? Give both of these products a try. Just go to theroguerat.com or the uncensoredreport.com. Click on my shop area and click on the InfoWars icon. It'll give credit to the operation and help us continue to get the message out there. Have a great day. Get some of this great apparel from theroguerat.com or the Uncensored Report or theviniscoop.com. We have hats, shirts, coffee mugs. They say educate, inspire, and change. Or for my Scoop fans, it'll say the Viniscoop, Sarasota Scoop, etc. Help me with this operation so I can continue to get a fresh perspective on the news out to the masses. Thanks a lot, and have a great day. Just go to my website. All right, folks, we're back. Let's get rid of that echo. Okay, I'm telling you what, that fluoride, where do I have it here? Here you go, Survival Shield. I'm a user. I believe in it. I believe that the government has put fluoride in our water to try to dumb us down. And I'm taking this to block it, to get rid of that fluoride. And I'm telling you, I'm seeing a lot much clearer. Actually, this Survival Shield actually helps your thyroid because they took the iodine out of the salt. I actually got fluoride guard there that protects the fluoride. So I wasn't exactly honest there, but you get the drift. Next, America's growing concern about outliving retirement savings, folks. Look, the market's crazy. If you were watching the market just last week, it was up, it's down, up, it's down. In October, we're going to stop QE, but they're going to keep the interest rates low because they can't bring them up, because they're going to put the banks out of commission if they do that. Now, Europe's in a significantly worse position than we are, and they're printing money now. The whole world is a mess out there. And so many Americans are starting to get very concerned about outliving their retirement savings. What's going to happen? Will Social Security be around? Will Medicare be around? Will I have enough money? Many of us were caught in this housing boom. We bought into the bubble and we got screwed. And this is the beauty of it for the banks. You have your PMI. The banks go out there, you get screwed. I had a house that went from $1 million down to $500,000. I couldn't sell it. So they came in, I had the PMI, the bank were taken care of. Then they turned around and sold it to somebody who bought it for pennies on the dollar, and then he's reselling it for 30 times what he bought it for. And they're out screwing my credit over the whole thing. Even though the banks made all their money, the credit company's going to make all theirs. And they're out there screwing the little guy, the big guy, me. And it interferes with planning for retirement. And this is a common concern. Many Americans, all ages, all demographics out there, they don't have enough savings. They don't have enough savings to last day by day, let alone for retirement. They're record low savings rates. And they've gotten a lot better, but they're still low. They're near zero interest rates and not enough investors in the stock market. And you're going to see these zero interest rates for a lot longer, folks. The retirement dream will eventually become just that, just a dream, and you're going to keep working. Now, some people are like me. I want to keep working. When I turn 65, I don't want to retire. I want to keep doing something because it keeps your mind active. It keeps you active. I don't care if I'm bagging at Publix. I want to do something. And I've clearly said that. I can't imagine sitting around the house all day long with nothing to do. I'd end up sleeping, and I'd end up slowly, mentally, physically dying. And I just don't want that. I want to defy Emmanuel. I want to live till I'm 85, 90, 95, 100. I want to see my kids' kids. I want to see my grandkids' kids. You know, last year, reports and analysis were looking at retirement and seeing how we could transform this crisis. Not only for the coming generations, but the baby boomers as well. And they're looking at financial collapse, enormous levels of debt, living beyond our means. This is all stuff we're doing, folks. Enormous levels of debt. Obama, Bush, they're out there telling you, go out and spend your money to bring the economy back. They want you to spend yourself into debt. And we've done that. We live beyond our means. Many Americans live beyond our means. I don't think I do. I used to. I don't think I do anymore. And the financial collapse, which many people out there are seeing. There's a reason why all these big-time investors are buying up gold and silver, folks. There's a reason. Seniors today may not experience a comfortable retirement. Well, maybe today. I'm thinking more like 20 years down the road. They have a survey that came out, a Wells Fargo Gallup survey. And it suggests that a considerable amount of Americans fear outliving the retirement, which I could see happening. They found that 46% are very or somewhat worried about outliving their savings. You know, and here's my philosophy. A lot of people spend their money day to day thinking, hey, I'm not going to live that long. And then when they outlive that long, they're like, oh, shit, what did I do? You know, I'm hoping that I'm taking good care of my kids. And I hope, you know, they could live with me as long as they want. I love my 2 daughters. And I hope when I'm older that I can live with them instead of being shoved off to a retirement home or living in the streets. Now, I would never want to do that if it caused trouble with their family and stuff, you know, obviously other factors. But, no, family is family. I love my kids. One of the biggest concerns out there among survey participants is Social Security. We'll be here. We'll be insolvent. Many are saying it will be insolvent by 2031. While other retirement entitlement programs face bankruptcy also within the next decade. And more than half, about 58% of the people that were surveyed will not act in time to address this fiduciary troubles that the Social Security is having. You're not going to see Congress act on it. You're not going to see Senate act on it. They don't have the political strength, the political willpower to do it. These trends to be, it gives you a false sense of security when it comes to the retirement. You hope the money will be there somehow. You hope Social Security will be there. You hope Medicare will be there. You hope you have some kind of retirement, but it won't. And what you got to do is you got to plan. You got to prepare now, and it's hard with the wages where there are at all-time lows. It's difficult. It's difficult to save more. It's difficult to maximize retirement savings. It's hard to work longer towards retirement. If you're out there digging ditches, my dad was a construction worker for many years. Concrete. My uncles are like that. I cannot see these guys working to 65, 70, 80. Although they do, they're some of the best workers out there. You need it when you're planning for this retirement. You have to omit Social Security. That'll be frosting on the cake if it's there, but don't plan on it being there. And plan, you know, I told my wife, I said, hey, look, hon, when I retire, I do not want to live in some huge house. We've lived in the huge $1 million houses. I don't want that. I personally wanted something like when I had lived in Italy. We had, I think, 900 square foot apartment, 2 bedrooms. That was fine with me. When I'm old, I'm not going to, A, want the expense, and B, I'm not going to want to have to clean up in that place. Now, my ultimate goal is I want to go back to Italy when my kids are out of the house. I'd like to live there. I'd like to live here. I'd like to get a little mobile home here. I'd like to spend my time between both because I got family there. I got family here. And that's what I'm planning. That's how I'm trying to plan. Will I do it? I don't know. I doubt it, but it's good to dream. It's good to dream, folks. And you should always dream, always aspire to be something. Never give up. Never give up. We'll be right back. I'm going to go to a commercial, and we'll be back to talk about probably Ebola. Check out My Patriot Supply. They got the straw there. That straw is great. I tell you what, folks, you can go out and basically, if we're in a critical situation and there's a massive hurricane, there's no water, guess what? You use these straws, the life straw, out there in the pond, and it cleans out all the water and gets you filtered water. How can you beat it? Check it out. Check the product and much more, and help support the operations at theuncensoredreport.com. Did you know that the Bead Room, Macy's, and Sam's Club are now part of my organization where we are doing a revenue sharing program? So go to my webpage, theuncensoredreport.com. Click on any of those 3 links and take advantage of some of the free shipping or discounts that you may get. All right, folks, we are back. Let me get rid of that echo. For some reason, the studio is hot, and I am sweating like crazy. I don't know if it's just the overall humidity outside. I have it set like it's 70. Whew. Boy, I tell you what. All right. Let's see. Monday, and we got to check up on ISIS. Actually, Ebola. I wanted to go to Ebola. As you know, and I've said this all the time if you're new to the show, I've been following Ebola since the beginning. Major media came in around the 50 mark or 100 mark. Mentioned it a little bit. 1,000 mark that came in, everybody got freaked out, so they backed off because the government asked these propagandists and major media to back off. Now we're way over to what, near 2,500. They're thinking possibly millions could die from it. You got Sierra Leone. They're in lockdown. Martial law. 2 million people are forced to endless quarantine. Their food prices are skyrocketing. Why? Because they don't have the system in place to deliver the food because everybody's in quarantine. This is a high-density population area. And they're in lockdown over this pandemic. And I get it. I understand why everybody's concerned. They want to try to control it. But these forced isolation orders are to eradicate Ebola are having an impact on food. You know, right now in Sierra Leone, you might die from Ebola or starvation. And it's sad, folks. That's because their food delivery infrastructure there has collapsed. And that's because they're in these quarantine. They're restricted movements. Goods and services. Goods and services can't move. We're talking about medicine too, folks. We're not just talking about food. We're talking about medicine. Predictably, the enforcement of quarantines across Sierra Leone have caused a collapse in this food infrastructure. And it's causing the prices to skyrocket on a country where people already can't afford it. So just imagine what would happen here if they were to institute this type of martial law in the United States. Can you imagine? And so you gotta remember a couple things. Beef peppers, be ready. Stockpile food. I know the government went on there like, hey, if people are stockpiling food, we need to know. They don't like survivalists. I don't know why. I do. I have a 6-month supply of food. I have my 6 months to a year supply of water. I got my gun. I'm pretty much stocked. I'm not where I need to be, but I'm a lot better off than many other people. And you got to remember, when you have these tragic incidents, World War Z, I don't know if you've seen that. I was watching earlier with Brad Pitt. When you have this type of scenario, the system breaks down rather quickly, folks. We're not talking, oh, you'll have food and school and stuff for a month. No, within 2 to 3 days, you're going to have people acting like animals, like rabid animals out there. Food deliveries will be disrupted. Medicine, everything. If you're caught in this quarantine zone, you won't be able to move. Even if the pandemic gets worse in your area, you're not going to be able to move because you're in a quarantine zone. And they want to halt the transmission. Food won't be brought in or out because you're quarantined, folks. You're going to starve to death. And these quarantines, they don't come up in advance and say, hey, next week we're putting your area in a quarantine. No, come on. Of course not, folks. They come in, they put you in there, and they lock down the military on you. So think. Think, people. Plan. Don't rely on your government. Your government will not be there for you for this, folks. I'm concerned. Are you? You should be concerned. You should be concerned, folks. We'll be right back. And click on the icon. Get some of this great apparel from theroguegrant.com, or the Uncensored Report, or thevintagescoop.com. We have hats, shirts, coffee mugs. They say educate, inspire, and change. Or for my Scoop fans, it'll say the Vintage Scoop, Sarasota Scoop, etc. Help me with this operation so I can continue to get a fresh perspective on the news out to the masses. Thanks a lot, and have a great day. Just go to my website and click on the icon. All right, folks, I'm back, and we're going to talk a little bit about police, where you have cop killers and killer cops, and how this narrative shows a hypocrisy with government and the prostitute media. All right, and we're seeing it. Just like I'm surprised that this individual that was this cop that pulled over an innocent guy just driving down the road, pulls him over because he says your seatbelt wasn't on. Well, the guy having to take his seatbelt off as soon as he entered the gas station parking lot. Of course it was off. I do that all the time. The guy says, I want your license. He reaches inside the car to get his license, and the cop shoots him 3 or 4 times. But you won't hear. I've been seeing it on alternative media. I haven't been seeing it on major media. I'm really surprised they're talking about this guy getting 20 years. I would not doubt if he gets off. And, while it's been deemed in the United States courts that police officers are not obligated to protect and serve, which is rather obvious with this last situation. That guy wasn't protecting. He wasn't serving. He was ravenous. And this ravenous pursuit of those who violate the law or don't violate the law in this case. As in the media sensationalizes the attention of cop killers all the time, they omit when the cop kills an innocent individual, when a cop kills somebody. All the time you hear about, this cop was killed and feel so bad for him. We're sorry for him. We get that. And I tell you what, folks, I say 80, maybe 70, maybe 60, 70% of the cops that are out there, they join the force because they want to do the better good and they're good people. But you do have another 30 to 40% that join because they love that power trip. And they out there doing their little ravenous thing, trying to project this power because they're getting off on it. How about when this ex-LAPD officer, Christopher Dorn, began shooting at cops and those related to them in 2013? He attempted some type of vengeance on the system that he viewed as racist, corrupt. The police, they went on a vicious manhunt. It was almost like martial law. People were in lockdown. When 2 officers were killed in June of last year in Vegas, they received a ceremonious funeral. But yet when Byron Dixon was shot by officers, nobody heard about it. Nobody mourned about it. Rarely do departments pursue murderers with the fervor that they do when the victims are their own officers. We see it right now. We got this guy, I think he's in Pennsylvania. He's killed 1 cop, hurt another cop. And they're scouring the world for this guy. But I tell you what, if a cop did that to an individual, would the same attention be thrown on him that we're seeing with the prostitute media? You're not going to see government mourning taking place for civilians murdered by police. You're not going to see paid vacations doled out. Instead, the courts would let these violent cops generally walk. There's sloppy excuses of murder and brutality, and they're accepted, folks. Even if there's video evidence. It exposes the lie. That if a cop is sitting there lying, it gets exposed. They still won't do anything. And you know what? That's the first sign of tyranny in a country, is when the police force does this type of stuff and they get away with it. But it's not just the police force that's responsible for this double standard, folks. No, it's the conglomerate of the media as they work tirelessly to shape this narrative on cop killers versus killer cops. While it may occasionally cover extreme acts of police brutality that draw noisy dissent, like hopefully this one does, the vast majority of stories fall to the wayside. And you don't even hear about them unless you're on sites like mine, alternative media. And perhaps this disparity in coverage is a result of the astronomical rate of police violence that's happening every day. If media were out there to cover every single instance of police murder and misconduct, as they do attacks on police, they would not have the time to stir up war propaganda. No, they wouldn't. The lack of coverage of aggressive law enforcement is also because the media can much more easily sensationalize the story. about anti-government, about libertarian leaning, survivalists, those bad guys, those terrorists, those veterans. An American population so effectively fear-mongered that most of these stories of these police brutality fall on deaf ears. It is a population that has embraced and fetishized violence so deeply and is so desperate for protection from the government that it cannot process the reality of the state is the biggest brutalizer of them all, folks. It accepts these spoon-fed stories that the government and prostitute media serves them. And it's shameful. It's a shame, folks. It is correct to blame the government and chastise the media for molding public opinion. And it's vital to call them out on it because that's what's happening. But in spite of the manipulative forces pressing upon the minds of the American people, responsibility rests squarely on them. It is their consent that allows the hypocrisy to continue, and their perspectives that must encompass a condemnation of the kinds of aggression, including that of their own government. As dim as the situation may seem, there are cracks in the facade of mainstream narratives, and they're growing ever more apparent, folks. More people are turning to alternative media for opinions, for news, to see what's going on out there. Cop Block is one of the fastest growing out there. And they're showing daily all the different issues on video, factual, documented cases of police brutality. And they're bringing out that awareness there. The more aggressive and oppressive the government and its media cheerleaders become in their attempt to try to control and shape this opinion, the more people will begin to shift their perspectives against this flagrant abuse of power and this shameless use of violence, folks. Think about it. All right, we'll be right back. In return, you're supporting the operation and allowing me to continue to get the message out, both locally, nationally, and internationally. Thanks for supporting the program. Check out My Patriot Supply. They got the straw there. That straw is great. I tell you what, folks, you can go out and basically, if we're in a critical situation and there's a massive hurricane, there's no water, guess what? You use these straws, the life straw, out there in the pond, and it cleans out all the water and gets you filtered water. How can you beat it? Check it out. Check the product and much more, and help support the operations at theuncensoredreport.com. Hey, everybody, this is Frankie, and I'm here today to introduce Longevity. It's a great nutritional supplement to anybody that's eating right or not eating right. I take supplements on a regular basis, and Longevity cannot be beat, especially at some of the great price points. So go to theroguerant.com or theuncensoredreport.com and click on Shop. Go down to Longevity, click on it, and you'll be helping out the operations of the station so that we can continue to bring you a fresh perspective on alternative news. Longevity. Check it out. All right, folks, and there we go. Our last story we're going to cover tonight, to me, it's a humorous one. It's humorous because it involves the media and the amount of disinformation blocking that Obama's been feeding or not feeding to them. And it cracks me up. And why does it crack me up? Because there's been this marriage, this love affair between Obama and the media, and it's starting to crumble now. And that's because the Obama administration is being viewed as blocking information to the press. I got to say, it's not being viewed. He's actually doing that. They're actually doing that. And they're uncovering it. The press is out there uncovering information that should be made available to the public, but they're going through these difficult maneuvers to try to get it. And I've seen this myself at the local level. Northport police are notorious for it. I'll put in a FOIA request for information to the city government and to the police department. Different issues. Not one response ever. And on some of their FOIA requests with other individuals, they've filed suit against the person for requesting Freedom of Information Act information. It's crazy. Uncovering information that should be available to the public has become increasingly difficult. And it has happened under our most transparent president, Obama. Isn't that what he said he wanted, transparency? I mean, did we miss something there? In many cases, the guy's suppressing the secrecy. He's horrible. Their penchant for secrecy does not just apply to the federal government, though, folks. During joint meetings of news editors, they'll get in there and they'll state that they're concerned with the behavior at both the state and local level. But they don't care. You got this Busby guy, Washington Bureau Chief. He pointed out 8 ways that Obama administration has been stifling public access, including keeping reporters from the witnesses. This is crazy, folks. Do you realize we don't really live in one of the freest societies anymore? Land of the free, home of the brave. Not anymore, folks. I have to say, we're probably we are not the freest society out there. You know, there's frustration with how the government handled the 9/11 trials, when journalists were prohibited from even looking at non-classified court filings. Basic information about the prison complex in Guantanamo Bay is being withheld from the public. They're claiming national security. National security. So FOIA requests are getting harder and harder than ever before. And it's a shame. Our freedoms, our liberties are slowly slipping away, folks. You can continue to take your fluoride. You can continue to be dumbed down watching reality TV. Be dumbed down playing video games. Just close yourself off from reality. You know, I was out there and I was talking to my buddy JR, and we were talking about zombies, and it hit me. I go, you know what? This whole Walking Dead, it's not about getting a virus, an epidemic or something. The Walking Dead is, if you look at it, society. And those 8, 9, 10 people that were up in the mall on the roof, those are people that are awake. You got the Walking Dead, the normal Americans. They're walking around not realizing what's going on, how the government's manipulating them. What they think is reality isn't reality. And then you got these survivors, these people that are awake, trying to get out of there, trying to free themselves. And we had this whole conversation, which I could take the whole show talking about, but it was interesting. All right. That's the show for Monday. I have appointments. I have work. Blah, 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 blah. Catch me, my show again every Monday through Friday. It's on 11 to 12 at the uncensoredreport.com. You can also catch Phil's Gang show at 9 to 10 and 3 to 5. Those are live on my page. Just go to the uncensoredreport.com. We're going to try to get some more information in there, too. I'm trying to get more shows so that I can fill up all the different time slots, and you can see different people at all times in here and listen to them. It'll be an easy source for information, sort of like my Facebook pages, where I bring a bunch of media outlets together on one page for you, so you don't have to go around to all these different ones. So, for Frankie, I will see you tomorrow on Tuesday. Everybody have a great day.